Just when you thought it was safe to go back onto YouTube, we didn't know. And YouTube would just his eyes roll over white. Was my mic not on? Is it on now? Oh, geez. I was just saying stupid things. So glad to be back with you, YouTube. It's been a long time coming. By long time, I mean 1 week. So look, what would help is if you share the show, leave a comment, because obviously the algorithms act as though you don't exist after a week. But I wanted to talk with you about something. Before we start, and we have an intro here for you that you haven't seen in a long time. We were streaming, just so you know. If we're not here on YouTube and you don't see a notification, we're always on Rumble, right? Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. And we're always on Mug Club. And I think we have the promo code. It's free speech. You can get $30 off. We always recommend that you go there. It's the easiest way, so you don't have to switch over to the bonus show. But here's something that's pretty interesting here. And I'm really happy to be able to discuss that. Once upon a time, there was no other game in town. We're not quite there yet, just to let you know. But let me show you some screen grabs here. Before we started streaming to Rumble last week, a week ago, Rumble was not even in the top 10 apps on the App Store. Okay. When we streamed to Rumble that first Monday, thank you, because of you, we had 95,000 people watching. I think we have a screen grab that someone wrote an article, 90-something thousand. It was the highest number outside of YouTube for a stream like that. And, of course, Andrew Tate got banned. He came over midweek. And now Rumble is the number one app in its category, or at least it was at the time that I checked it this morning. Look, Rumble is nowhere near the size of YouTube, and I'm not saying that we're putting all of our eggs in that basket. I would like to see any competitor out there do really well. We've just seen the most amount of promise with Rumble. I don't work for Rumble. They've just been very hospitable to us and allowed us to stream so that when we get banned from YouTube, we have a place to go. But this is proof, for the first time, that it is possible for you to migrate and actually help determine the market if you go somewhere else off of YouTube. 95,000 people of you at any given second, right, and that's not including Mug Club, were watching somewhere other than you. Nothing would make me happier than eventually to be able to never have to talk to you through YouTube ever again. We didn't have that option, and we have to be here for a while longer, but this is a big step, and it is a step. You are the one you hold the power in determining what amount of power big tech wields over you and elections. And we're going to get into that here today. Zuckerberg on Joe Rogan talking about the FBI throttling the Hunter Biden laptop story. And of course, we were banned, just to be clear, because of Kari Lake discussing issues in the election in Arizona that she won. But let me just say this, even if there is, and there has never been any cheating whatsoever, of course, as we all know, in any election since the beginning of this country, we would never imply otherwise. Most safe and secure ever. It's not needed. If they can throttle, if they can control the information, like shadow banning the Hunter Biden laptop story, which we now know occurred, and we now know that alone changed the outcome of the election. I'll get into that number by number, state by state in today's show. They don't even need to cheat because of the lobbyists and because of the power that only a handful of organizations wield. And for the first time, you are making them sweat. We're not there yet, but I am telling you this is a big step, and it's one that I'm really, really happy to report. This is a multiple of any time we've ever streamed somewhere else. And I thank you for following us over. And if ever we get suspended here again, when we get suspended here again, I ask that you do the same. And I look forward to seeing you wherever it is that we land. But the good news is we can now land somewhere else. Chin up, and it's time to fight like hell. Figuratively, we'll get into that too. Here's the show.
this is it. 2020. Move fast and avoid getting those community guidelines striked.
I want regular content from all of you. It's an election year, so use those algorithms.
If you're not sure if your content's borderline, err on the side of caution. We don't need any more channels being banned. Keep your content clean, gentlemen. I'll see you on YouTube.
Okay, let me show you, boys.
Go, 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 go! Bring it down!
Captain, they've got us surrounded. I don't know how much more we can
Come
take.
on, don't think like that. I promise you, after this, I'll buy everyone here a round of beer. Okay, even Brendan.
Thank you, sir.
Was he got a salute?
He was
got
gonna
a salute. That's not protocol. Corporal Black, tell me you have some good news for
Afraid
me.
not, Captain. There's hardly anybody left. They took out Gather. Trigger, you got ambushed. Bitch Shapiro's gone, and it gets worse.
How's it gonna get any worse?
It's just box videos, doll unboxings, and makeup tutorials with training.
Corporal Black! Corporal Black! You Palo Alto bastard!
Sure, we need to surrender.
Oh, come on! We didn't come all this way just to give it up to some Silicon Valley sprite, right? What's your name, Private?
Given, sir.
He's not in our company, but he's still here. That's a good sign. It's an election year, damn it. We created Mug Club exactly for this instant, to guarantee a future-free internet for all content creators, free from the legacy media gatekeepers. That's why we're here. Don't forget that. I want you to look alive. Get out, move up, and use Manti as cover. 3, 2...
That's a satisfied sip because you can't keep a good man down, I guess. We can't keep this guy down. Whatever it is. Glad to be back with you here on YouTube. I know some of you not thrilled that we are back here on YouTube. And actually, that's my question of the day. If you caught this show while we were not on YouTube, where did you watch? And comment below. Was it Rumble? Were you downloading on Apple, Spotify, Android, wherever it's available? Sorry, hold on a second. I have a burp right on the outset of the show.
All of the audio podcast, yeah. That's
my stars.
That was
I love it.
That was, look, my mute button works. You still heard that burp.
every mic caught it.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I did not. I really tried to mute the mic.
Welcome back to YouTube.
Every mic caught it. So we have a lot to get to today. Our team here, by the way, infiltrated a drag show in Texas.
Really?
And that's going to be coming up Thursday. We have a teaser for you. The CNN is freaking out now because Lindsey Graham said that if there's this investigation, prosecution of Donald Trump, that it could result in riots in the streets. Of course, he didn't condone it. But they're trying to act as though it's a call to violence. I think we're a little bit familiar with that. Mm-hmm. And then really telling is that the Facebook, the Book of the Faces, worked with the FBI. You know this. Zuckerberg talked about this on Joe Rogan to throttle the Hunter Biden story. What you may not know is that would have changed the face of the election, period. There is no debate about it, according to Biden voters themselves. So it doesn't matter if there's cheating that takes place, which of course we would never imply there is.
Never
imply that.
Ever.
No.
If you control the flow of information on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I guess YouTube, Google, and maybe TikTok. You can throw it in there. You control the information there. You can control elections. And boy, is it good that there are going to be some alternatives. But before we move on with anything else, Gerald A., how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. You're wearing short sleeves. Nothing like dressing up. Thank you.
Yep, do my best.
Speaking of dressing up, you know him, you love him, the fastest man on his feet, and we are going to be on tour. The big show coming up, louderwithcrowder.com/tour. Get your tickets September 17th at the Smart Financial Center in Sugar Land. Dave Landau, how are you?
Ahoy, good. How about you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Yeah.
Phoenix is mostly sold out.
Pretty
There's
much.
There's like 100 tickets left, and I don't want to advertise it because there aren't more than like a couple seats that are, you can sit with one person, but that's it.
We're looking at you, Houston.
Yes.
Looking at you, lonely men.
Yes. All you incels.
Yes.
No dates.
You want to get yourself a lady, press your pants, perfume your bed sheets.
Wear short sleeves.
I decided to
you
give
and your
Kojak advice.
torso, friend.
Yes. Yeah. So, okay, before I move on, we have so much to get to here today, and it's weird because it's kind of, you would assume a slow news day, but it's a slow news day because the media really doesn't want to cover what has taken place really from Friday to now. And some of it, I hate to use the term nuance, but there's some subtext that has been missed. But before that, let's start with something a little bit on the nose. Drew Barrymore, I don't know if you know this, people were complaining she was trending. Did you know she's a racist?
Yes.
Really? Why?
Because she likes enjoying rainfall. Yeah.
You and I both know that you are capable of enjoying the rain and frolicking freely without filming it and then posting it to TikTok. Now, you've just co-signed, okay? You've just co-signed at least 3 million, 8.5 by 11 front and back, people who just go out of their way to disrespect and dismiss the boundaries that Black creators have set. And now you're one of those people.
Created the rain?
So, I guess my question would be, why? Why is it so important to all of you to treat us like we don't matter?
I feel like you're reaching.
I would think so, too. That being said, she also protested the I can't get the name of Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen... No!
It's right.
No!
She's fun at parties.
You appropriated Janine's glasses from Ghostbusters.
Yes. Also rosaries and hanging them from her glasses.
How could you could also have said that to somebody and not recorded it and posted it to TikTok.
That's true. But what's even scarier is the response. A lot of people agreeing.
Well, of course they did, because it's stupid.
Yes, that's a good point. But Andrew Tate is a threat to democracy. Do you have any idea what this lady would do if you gave her a scepter and made her queen for a day? Do you have any idea what kind of racism, what kind of genocide would take place? This broad is pissed off that Drew Barrymore was enjoying the rain.
Well, she's more pissed off that she filmed it and posted it. I'm like, well, then what is TikTok for?
Drew Barrymore was a
Instagram.
child star. Let's just let her have that one.
Yes,
all right.
exactly.
She's had a very rough
And
life.
she's not dead yet. That's great.
Yeah,
Be
it's a
grateful
it's
it's
a
not
miracle.
falling coke.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, she's been decorated like a Harvey Weinstein ficus.
I mean, it is absolutely mind-numbing that, but people get mad about it. And look, I will say this: to give them one, it does seem entirely ridiculous on its face. But rain, specifically in Dancing in the Rain, actually there is some history there steeped in white supremacy you may have missed.
I'm laughing at clouds so dark up above. And the sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love.
I don't know how I missed that on first watch.
In plain sight.
Yeah.
It's true, yeah.
Wow.
I think it's because it's soaked in gas. It just kept...
Yeah.
I think he was trying to just throw us off the scent that he was gay.
Yeah, that's what it was. That guy
Ready
was?
for love, all
I
right.
don't know. I assume. I mean,
No way.
Danny Kaye definitely wasn't trying to bow for the king.
I thought that was all man.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. Gosh, this is where when it's beyond parody. Like, you notice we don't even say anything during. Everyone here, you could have heard a pin drop in the studio at that lady who was furious with Drew Barrymore because there's nothing to add to that.
I was trying to figure out why she was angry. I still don't really know. I don't know what boundaries were set by black creators, like she said, that we crossed.
And you find some write-ups if you search this because climate change disproportionately affects people in poverty and minorities and blah, 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 blah.
And rain is climate change
That's
now?
what they say. That's what they were saying on the Twitter and TikTok.
They do know that's what plants need to survive and
Well, it's
us
what
too, by the way. It
humans,
helps us.
it's really what the planet needs
It's Brondo.
to survive.
Everything.
It's got electrolytes.
Gatorade.
All right. So this is something else before we move on to something that you're all familiar with. Sunday, this is exclusive here, Anderson Distillery in Roanoke, Texas.
Roanoke. Yeah.
Roanoke?
Roanoke.
I don't care. They're going down.
Okay.
Just like Gene Kelly.
Yeah. They hosted what they called a family-friendly drag show with children. And we sent our team out there. I don't want to reveal too much yet, but we were on the ground, both behind the scenes and reporting. And many of these people don't know that we were behind the scenes, but it's going to be released on Thursday. Here's a sneak peek at the family-friendly drag show.
How are y'all doing? Y'all doing all right? All right. Yep.
Well, thank you for not shooting anyone. I appreciate it.
I don't give a f. We're just doing our job. Get the f out of here.
You can report. It's fine.
I love that guy too with the face. He had the full face dress, and he had the little rainbow wrap. He was like the Iron Geek.
I just like all of it.
Yeah.
But those were not armed security guards that were hired to protect the event either.
No, it was Antifa Black Bloc with AR-15s.
Right. Yeah.
Which is just funny because they had to buy a custom shoulder strap because they don't come in that wide.
Oh.
Just
girthy.
Just you can escape them by walking at a slightly brisk pace.
Mm-hmm. It zigzag very slow.
Yes, exactly. This is happening all across the country, just so you know. We just happened to go down to one. This is not fringe. This is something that is happening all across the country. So when the left says you're not allowed to say pedophiles or sexualization of children, I think Media Matters ran a clip where it said there's a disproportionate number of sex offenders in the transgender community. Specifically, we were talking about the Drag Queen Story Hour. Yeah, I stand by it.
They ran a story for us?
Yeah.
Good.
Of course I stand by it. I think it should already be a sex offense to have 6-year-olds putting dollar bills in your long john panties.
Mm-hmm.
Call me old-fashioned.
It should be at least frowned upon.
Yes. You should at least feel some sort of shame. When can we bring back shame?
No, can't do it.
All right, so here's something.
Shame.
Wanted to see if you guys had watched this, and maybe if you missed some subtext, comment. My question to you can comment below. If the hair on the back of your neck stood up when you watched Zuckerberg on Joe Rogan. And what's funny is I remember one time when I was on with Joe talking about Zuckerberg at length, making fun of him for seeming robotic and like a sociopath.
Yeah.
And I think that Joe did a good job. I would have liked to see him hold his feet to the fire a little bit more, but I understand that Joe wants to make people comfortable. He does a good job with that. But Zuckerberg was on there, and have you watched this yet, Dave?
I watched part of it.
Okay.
I did watch. It's very eerie.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's
Actually,
okay.
Watching this part was very eerie.
Yeah. It's scary, and it's scary when you understand the outcome. So I want you to hear what he's saying. It's a little bit of a long clip here, but you need to have the entire context. You can go watch the whole thing on Spotify. That's where Joe Rogan streams, another alternative right now-ish. Zuckerberg just plain out revealed that Facebook censored the Hunter Biden laptop story specifically because of someone who's been in the news quite a bit lately, the FBI. Watch this.
How do you guys handle things when they're a big news item that's controversial? Like there was a lot of attention on Twitter during the election because of the Hunter Biden laptop story. The New York
we had that
Post.
too.
Yeah, so you guys censored that as well?
So we took a different path than Twitter. I mean, basically, the background here is the FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. There was, we thought
doesn't
there was
even
a lot of
realize what he
Russian
just said.
propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant.
So they fact check for the
our
FBI. Who
protocol
fact
is
checks the
different from
FBI?
Twitter's. What Twitter did is they said you can't share this at all. We didn't do that. What we do
I
is
think
we
that's
have
better.
if something is reported to us as
Watch his answers
potentially
here.
misinformation, important misinformation, we also have this third-party fact-checking program because we don't want to be deciding what's true and false. And for I think it was 5 or 7 days when it was basically being determined whether it was false, the distribution on Facebook was decreased, but people were still allowed to share it. So you could still share it, you could still consume it.
So when you say the distribution is decreased,
It got shared.
How does that work?
It basically, the ranking in newsfeed was a little bit less.
Oh, a little bit.
So fewer people saw it than would have otherwise. So it definitely.
By what percentage?
I don't know off the top of my head, but
Yes, you do.
It's meaningful.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I'm not in the business of attributing motive or saying that someone is. Yes, you do. You do know off the top of your head. And this is the problem is, well, we have third-party fact-checking. Hold on a second. The FBI is one of the you just said the FBI is a fact-checker because they told you it was misinformation. You used the word of the Who fact-checks the FBI? This is the problem with the raid going on right now. Who holds the people accountable whose job it is to hold everyone else accountable when they have now gone rogue? You have to believe one of two things here. Either the FBI is so absolutely inept that they couldn't be bothered to. Ring, ring, Giuliani, where'd you get that laptop? Oh, do you have the receipt from Geek Squad? You do. Let's go check it out. You have to believe that they are so inept. They aren't able to do what we did on this show. Keep in mind, the laptop was shown on this show for the first time to the public when Giuliani was on this show, the Hunter Biden laptop. We confirmed it. They're either so inept or they're lying and tried to affect the outcome of the election. There is no door number 3. And we have a third-party fact-checkers. Okay, so the FBI is one of them. Who else? Southern Poverty Law Center?
Yeah.
The CDC? The WHO with YouTube? Who fact-checks the fact-checkers, especially now when the CDC said, sorry, we were wrong about a lot?
But what's ridiculous is the language, just that he says, well, we made it shareable, just less so. And
Exactly.
It's like, well, why didn't you say we made it less shareable? Wouldn't that sound way worse? Because it's what you said.
Right.
I mean, the way that if you just move a couple words in his responses, it becomes way creepier than what he actually says.
And this is what they do. See, okay, people talk about, for example, sometimes in the Bible, if you look at it, they talk about, in Revelations, like giant metal screaming birds, and now you go back and go, oh, that maybe someone was trying to describe a plane.
Right.
How would you describe it if the word plane didn't exist? For the longest time, the term that we used as conservatives, was shadow banned. There was no industry term. We just know that there was code baked into your page, for example. We've had legal tussles, hootenannies, I guess we can say,
That's the right word.
with Facebook. Never lost a one. When they were throttling our content on your pages, it was verified, confirmed by Engadget or Gizmodo, released publicly. So we use the term shadow banned because there is no term at that point in time that exists. What they do is they say, oh, you're a conspiracy. There is no such thing as shadow banning. We have never used the term shadow banning at Facebook. Well, hold on a second. We're just using it, shorthand to say you throttle content so that it's less shareable and people can't see. Oh, well, we do that.
We do that, yeah. We didn't let it show up in the newsfeed. And I love how at the end he was like, oh, it's meaningful. Yeah. Everything that shows up in the newsfeed is meaningful. That's where people go to get updates on what's happening in society after they've scrolled through their page for a little bit and get bored.
Hey, Kevin Lane Gunnarsson, get that number for me. How many people are on Facebook and the number of people who consume their news from Facebook? The numbers are shocking.
Yeah.
It's somewhere from 70 to 90%.
Was meaningful.
Yeah. Right.
That's insane.
Yeah. When you consider that's people's portal in a lot of countries as to where they get news. And this is the important, is they try to gaslight you. If you say shadow ban, they go, oh, it's not a thing. These crazy conservative conspiracy theorists. And then what happens is shadow ban becomes a trigger word so that they throttle your content, claiming that there's no shadow banning. Now, to be completely clear, before you fact check us now, the FBI did respond saying that they can only inform private entities of threats, not require them to take action. Now, that may be But of course, given what we've discussed before here, the political leanings of people at Meta, it used to be Facebook when this happened, it's 6.9 million to Democrats in 2020 compared to under 600,000 to Republicans. And there are a lot of ways to hide the money as well. But they overwhelmingly give to Democrats. They overwhelmingly support Democrats. And by the way, the shadow banning, how can all of the mistakes only go one way?
Hi, we're the FBI. We're here to make a casual suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's how they typically operate.
Yes.
Well, that's a nice picture of your wife.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Be a shame if that happened in real life.
Be a shame if something happened to him.
Oh, he goes to that. He goes to that Montessori school over there on Plainwood Boulevard, doesn't he? Yes.
Strange.
Beautiful strawberry blonde hair that he has.
Yes, looks like he's at lunch right now.
Don't worry, we won't send any of the CIA after him. I know they love the kids, but only if you check their hard drives.
Right. The worst thing about this is that what he's...
Sorry, by the way, Pew Research shows about a third of Americans regularly get their news from Facebook.
A third of the country.
Yeah, and it's even higher in other countries.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the worst things about this is that what he said was, the FBI just warned us that there was misinformation coming from Russia. Well, then why did you flag this story?
Right.
What about this story?
Everyone knew this was real. And by the way, they did the same thing with the Ashley Biden diary, just to be clear.
Right.
She was according to Ashley Biden, let me just make sure. According to Ashley Biden,
her diary,
she was molested. According to Ashley Biden, she was sexualized at a young age. According to Ashley Biden, she showered with her dad beyond the point that was age appropriate. Remember what they said? This is a false story. Then they said this must have been stolen. Now they're prosecuting someone for selling it. Turns out it wasn't actually stolen. It was something that was left and was abandoned.
Yes. Well, they're getting a prison sentence.
Right.
They're not prosecuting anymore.
Why would you get a prison sentence for a fake diary? Remember, that's what we heard.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's believe all women.
Right.
But
Unless
Ashley
it's
Biden.
Yes.
Well, unless it's in writing.
Yes.
As well.
I believe it's a calligraphy term.
Yes. Believe all women but Ashley.
And here's something else, too. The FBI says we can only inform them. Well, here's one thing. On YouTube, you have community guidelines. Okay. Then you have advertiser-friendly guidelines. Then you have borderline content. We don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows who determines what is borderline content. They just say, well, we have a panel. We have a group of different people who inform us. Who? It's a rule that is broad, that is opaque, that isn't defined, and we have no idea who's enforcing it. Could that be an example of the FBI saying, we just suggest that is borderline content? This is the problem with 320, right? This is the problem with 230.
230, yeah.
I was getting 420 and section 230 confused. Watch, I just said 420, and there are a bunch of people like, yeah, that's the only thing that'll inspire them to comment.
He said it.
Everything else, like, look, got a weed belt buckle and a hat. And a shirt. I don't have any weed, though. I spent it all on this.
And not a job.
Yeah. No, with Section 230 is if you're a platform and not a publisher, you need to let people know. You can't be a platform and have the FBI telling you what you can and can't post. Now, here's what's so scary about this. There's never been any cheating in any election. Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar,
they were wrong.
Jimmy Carter, Kamala Harris,
Hillary Clinton.
They deserve to be locked up for their election conspiracies.
Yes.
I cannot believe that they would want to sow mistrust in our institutions, those bitches. So, according to the polling, though, let's get rid of the no cheating that never, ever happened.
Right.
Carrie Lake, watch your mouth. According to the polls, 17% of Biden voters said they would have changed their vote or not voted had they known about the Hunter Biden laptop story. Wow. And Dave made a great point. It's not just about the fact that he was smoking crack and sexting his niece. It's about the fact that he was directly involving his dad in foreign business deals with governments who do not have Americans' best interest at heart. That does matter. I don't care what Sam Harris says. He's stupid. So take this into account. 17% would have changed their vote. Biden voters. Okay? Let's change that electoral map. Donald Trump would have won Arizona by 273,000 votes. Georgia, 408,000 votes. Nevada, 85,000 votes. Michigan, over 300,000 votes. New Hampshire, 12,000. That's a low number because it's a small state no one cares about. Pennsylvania, 507,000 votes. Wisconsin, Donald Trump would have won. Minnesota, Donald Trump would have won. If you cut the number in half by the people who answered the poll saying they would have changed their vote, it still would have been a Ronald Reagan-like landslide through the Electoral College. Just that one story. Just that one story. Well, we don't know, our bad. No. No more, you're bad. These organizations cannot, any libertarian who says they're a private company, they can do whatever they want. Do you still believe that? Do you still believe they're a private company when they are removing a story that has a direct effect on the election outcome based on the suggestion by the FBI? This is not some private business doing what private business do.
No, and the interesting part to me is, all the flack that Donald Trump has been given for maybe, being soft on Russia, doing business deals with Russia. The two people that were implicated, or two countries implicated in this laptop, were Ukraine and China.
Yep.
We've been really, really soft on China, trying to take every step that we can to take away a lot of the provisions that Donald Trump put in place economically, a lot of the sanctions, the tariffs. And we're sending over billions and billions and billions of dollars to where? Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it's very weird to me right now that's the claim. Those are the two places, and those are the two places right now, and nobody's making that argument that I'm seeing at all.
Right.
Other than not liking their money going to Ukraine.
I think you following logic in a straight line is the wrong way to go.
It makes me feel like I'm starting a conspiracy on accident because it's like, oh, well, that makes sense.
Just A, B, and C is not the way to do it.
Yeah, you've been spending too much time in the rain.
Oh,
yeah.
There's a Reddit thread for me somewhere.
Racist.
This is where we are, and they want to gaslight you into thinking that you're crazy. You're not crazy. And by the way, I don't think those Biden voters who said they would change their vote are crazy. I think they're uninformed, and by God, it's really hard to be informed today. We have more access to information than ever. Think about that for a second. When we were the age of some of the Generation Z who's entering the workforce, when we were teenagers, we would have to go down to a library. We'd have to take a book out. They used to have an encyclopedia, door-to-door salesman.
Not anymore.
Nowadays, you can access all information at your fingertips. However, it is more curated than ever before, and people are more misinformed than ever before. And the people who voted for Biden, 17% of them said, oh my God, that would have changed how I viewed the world and how I would have voted. But these are just private entities. And that's why I ask that you like right now. Just hit the like button and go over to Rumble. Right now, if you're on YouTube, go over to Rumble. I would love to see you at Rumble. We have to stream here until all of you guys convert. There's still millions of you who have not converted yet.
Millions like the votes?
Yes.
No.
No, sorry, no votes.
Like the ones you just mentioned.
No, there's no.
If it were
those
to switch.
votes, yes.
If
those
they
votes.
were to switch.
If they were to switch.
Would be millions.
According to what they said.
Yes.
But you should shut your mouth too, just like Carrie Lake.
No, I didn't mean in real life. I meant hypothetical to what we discussed based on a poll.
Yes, I understand in that I don't.
Right. I mean, the poll we're allowed to share because it's a poll.
Yes, exactly. And by the way, all the references are available at loudearthcrider.com. We make them available so that hopefully you can do some research and be informed yourself. I need to apologize, by the way, for last Thursday. People were saying, where was the show? We had some tech difficulties where everything was just corrupted. Yeah. The entire show that we did here, gone forever. Yep. Thank God. But we did some investigating, just so you know. We won't have that problem again. There were wiring problems.
Oh yeah.
Some pest control problems here in the studio, and we caught the culprit.
Brian Stelter.
Yes, it's I, heterosexual former news anchor Brian Stelter, and I've been nibbling on your wires.
Hey, come here.
No, unhand me. Except for you. You can hand me some more. Oh, no, stop it. No, yeah, you more, though.
Oh, man.
I don't know why we gave him the passcode.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I had a feeling he was going to nibble the wires.
I paid him the stipend, but he never came into work.
That's weird.
He thought that was work.
He thinks his work is snacking.
The stipend was Dunkin' Donuts.
We actually put him in the Loud with Crowder jail. We'll check back with him in a little bit.
Good, yeah.
Really quick, though, and of course we don't want to celebrate the misfortune of anyone else. Beto's sick. Robert Francis, he's a sick man. He's a sick man in the head.
What?
But he's, as my French-Canadian grandfather would say, he would say, "You're sick, malade." And I didn't find out until after he died that he was trying to say, malade means sick. Yeah. He was trying to say, "You're sick, malade." But he would say, "You're six malade." So I was like, what does sick mean? I didn't understand. And he would say it all the time.
You have six.
That's what he meant if you were a psychopath. He'd go, "You're six malade, man." What? Okay. But that's Beto. So Beto is sick, but now he's actually contracted an infection that has knocked him off the campaign trail for a while, according to O'Rourke. He is resting. He said, I'm sorry I've had to postpone events because of this, but I promise to be back on the road with you as soon as... Do you notice that O'Rourke and Zuckerberg and like Elizabeth Holmes, they all talk that same way?
They do.
That talking this way as though it makes me seem articulate.
You threw a woman in there and it threw me off, but I'm like, yeah.
They all sound the same.
It also sounds like that woman who made up the blood.
Yes, I'm saying Elizabeth. Is it Holmes?
Yeah,
Elizabeth Holmes.
Okay,
Holmes?
so I just said the same thing as you.
Yes, but it's because that's because you have brain problems that weren't identified through Theranos.
I see. Yes,
it pretty much just went to my offshore account.
I see. It's I'm afraid of needles.
Yes.
Ah,
I have a black turtleneck.
Yes, I just like Steve Jobs.
Yep.
Moving on.
By the way, I could use a job.
Yes, I'm in jail.
So here's what's funny about
Giving
this.
jobs.
We'll move on from this quickly. Without pandering at all, Beto, he thanked the team at the Methodist Hospital in San Antonio. I don't know. Maybe you find this funny. Maybe you don't. I do. He tweeted out, the extraordinary team there, from custodians to nurses and doctors, gave me excellent care and attention, including IV antibiotics. And so, okay, I understand the thanking doctors and nurses.
Right.
Yes.
The custodians?
Well, he...
What does that even...
What about the administrators? I mean, if you're going to do the whole
custodians,
thing.
I mean, thank the concierge. Hey, do you know where I can get a good IV? Oh, well, there's a wonderful. If you go straight down, take a left on Shelter Boulevard, you will find yourself a bag o' needles.
Oh, nice.
I'd like to...
Thank the
I'd like
custodians.
to thank them for not beating the hell out of me for the things I've said.
I'd like to thank everyone who works in the healthcare profession at Aetna.
The custodians? Just the pandering that takes place from the... Oh, my gosh.
So
just say, thanks, you gave me an IV, you're the true heroes, blah, 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 blah. Move on down the trail. The custodians, the accountants.
To make the news,
Your
this was
attempt
the
to
only way
be...
it could.
Yeah, your attempt to be an everyman is just the saddest thing at all costs. The custodians.
Oh, I love it.
I like to thank the chimney sweeps and the window washers.
Yes.
I hope everybody in Texas shows up and votes him like the worst of the defeats that he's had, and that would be saying something because he ran in 2020.
I'd like to thank the milkman and the blacksmith. Are you just thanking jobs that don't exist?
Do you even know
things,
you know what jobs are around now?
Do you even know the Muffin Man? I do.
I like to
personally. I'd like to thank him.
The guy who rings the bell there.
Right. Anyway, I just thought it was funny. Beto, Francis. Oh, okay. Hold on
What
a
is
second.
monkeypox?
What's that noise?
What is that?
Oh, it's coming from the Loudon Crowder jail.
I'm hungry. I want food. Hey. What is this? What is this?
All right. Guys, I give you specific instructions to not feed him, but that'll last him for a good 8 minutes, Brian Stelter. We don't have too many sponsors here on the show, but I talk about this. It's something that I actually eat.
Yeah.
Built bars are great. If you want to avoid sweets, no one needs protein bars. They're delicious, so they can replace like your chocolate bars. Go to built.com, use a promo code Crowder15. You get 15% off. They're made with... Oh, that's right. This is the birth... I don't get the birthday cake.
Come on, some people.
It's the only box left because we eat all of them at the studio, and I don't like the birthday. It's the only one I don't like.
Well,
I hate birthday
if
cake.
you're in a Stelter, that's a
lot of nuts.
But I don't like birthday cake, period.
If that makes Stelter stronger, we are all in for it.
Yes, then he might be as strong as the strongest girl at a 14-year-old slumber party.
Yeah.
You're
Easily. You're going to get hit with a pillow like you wouldn't believe.
It's going to be loaded with ball gags, though.
Yeah, he is.
All right. Here's something else now, again, for double standards while we're talking about CNN and we're talking about FBI, we're talking about Facebook. This morning, this happened, and it is as predictable as can be. CNN, their New Day show.
It's always a new day.
Yeah, New Day. That's where, what's his name, that Acosta guy does the reality check?
Oh,
which is the opposite of a check
hate
of reality. He's like, and Donald Trump is a fascist. He's just like Pinochet. This has been your reality check.
But he always points at the camera like this.
Right.
Like he's doing like the sideways gangster thing. Except
right.
He's like, this has been your reality.
I hope one day he just accidentally flashes the wrong gang symbols and someone at home is inspired to get off their couch. And give him a talking to.
A talking to. Verbal.
I hope he does it when he's swatted.
Yes.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, we'll spread it around a little bit. Tim Pool gets swatted 104 times.
Yeah.
CNN, they can get one.
Yeah, come on. One swatting.
Come on, be a team player.
They're like, nah, we know that's CNN. They're all criminals. We're fine with it.
Right.
Yeah.
So this morning on New Day, they were going over comments made by Lindsey Graham. And, of course, I want to be really clear about this. They've done this with us. They've done this with Donald Trump. They're now going to do this with Lindsey Graham. There is a consistent, not just a double standard, right? Everyone's a hypocrite. Often there's a double standard because you look at the world through your own bias lens. I understand that. This is something where people are deliberately subverting the truth in trying to present. They can be colloquialisms. They can be they can be terminology, abbreviations. They can be expressions that these people use themselves, but they want to hold you accountable for them as though they are literal comments when you make them. The same can be said here when they actually call for riots. They actually call for violence. They've done so, and we'll get into that in just a second here. We have other clips from Maxine Waters. I feel like we almost run her clips too often because she's just the gift that keeps on giving violently. Mm-hmm. But they want to act as though when someone else on your side is simply commenting on or observing what's happening in this country, that you are, of course, making an active call to violence. So here's CNN's New Day trying to do this with Lindsey Graham's comments.
Senator Lindsey Graham says people would take to the streets if former President Trump is indicted for mishandling classified documents.
If there's a prosecution of Donald Trump for mishandling classified information after the Clinton debacle, which you presided over and did a hell of a good job, there'll be riots in the streets.
With us now, CNN political commentator and host of CNN's Smerconish, Michael Smerconish. Michael, great to see you. Mary McCord, who was on with Brianna earlier this morning, said when she heard that, it sounded to her like an implicit threat.
Oh, gosh.
What do you hear there?
Someone told me who told someone else who saw Ferris's best friend's girlfriend's sister's cousin's boyfriend who knows this guy.
There is a perception of a double standard that was fueled in part by Mark Zuckerberg in the last couple of days, talking about how Facebook was approached by the FBI in the 11th hour of the last campaign, saying be on the lookout for Russian misinformation or disinformation. Whether these are apples and apples, we can debate, but there is a perception that when it was Hillary, when it was Hunter Biden, it gets handled differently than when it's Donald Trump.
There's no perception.
I'm worried about what Lindsey Graham is saying.
So hold on a second. I'm worried about what he's saying because of a perception. No, there's no perception. How do we know that the FBI told him that the Hunter Biden story was missing? Because the president, the creator of Facebook, said the FBI told him. There's this interpretation. There's this perception. In one case, they go, it's a perception, right? So they've now taken facts off of your side of the ledger. They haven't actually refuted them. They've just taken them off by saying there's this perception. No. It's what happened.
Right.
Beyond any shadow of a doubt. And then they try and present their conjecture as facts. There's this perception, but now this woman stated emphatically that this is an implicit call to violence. See that sleight of hand that takes place? And then they use that to ban you.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is an apples-to-apples comparison. Hey, you got that one right. One is the president of the United States who controls what's classified and what's not, and didn't have his documents hacked or taken by foreign entities. The other was not the president of the United States, did not have access to or have rights to have those documents on a private server at home, that was hacked by foreign entities, that was then scrubbed, and then she said, no problem.
And also Hillary Clinton has no power to declassify documents.
No, not at all.
So, yeah.
Of course, it's not apples to apples.
So it's more like apples to you're retarded.
I like apples.
I like apples, too.
Yeah. I don't like them apples.
What's your favorite? I like a Honeycrisp.
I like a Fuji.
There you go.
I like a good Fuji.
Grandma Smith.
I like Gala.
Yeah.
You know what I don't like? New Day apples.
Nope. How you like them apples?
Michael Smerconish, this piece went on to discuss the possibility that Graham was trying to actually also not only implicitly call for violence. And you notice how they always say someone else told me? Someone else said that this seemed like a call to violence, or a blatant threat was the term they used from Lindsey Graham. None of them want to hang their hat on it and say, this sounds like a threat to me. They say someone else, one of our reporters said this, and they'll go to that reporter later, and that reporter won't say it. They'll blame somebody else.
Right.
But then they did try and say that Lindsey Graham, in saying this, in stating something that is a very real possibility, that he was trying to influence the outcome of the election. The gaslighting continues.
I think the harder issue here is how is Merrick Garland supposed to evaluate that information? And what I mean is that traditionally, a prosecutor takes a look at a case and decides, is there sufficient evidence for me to prosecute a crime? Can I win it?
No and no.
In this set of circumstances, there's an additional criteria, it seems. In fact, the New York Times, in that huge editorial that they ran this weekend, said Merrick Garland also needs to determine whether it would be wise to bring a prosecution. If there's a fear of civil unrest, should that enter into Garland's decision-making? I would argue no, because we can't have prosecutors making decisions based on polling data or the prospect of civil unrest, because then the rule of law disintegrates.
Here's the thing. I actually agree with that last point.
Yeah.
But that's not what Lindsey Graham was doing.
No.
And I don't even like Lindsey Graham. He's a wiener.
Yeah, he's very unpleasant to listen to.
I don't hate him. He's just a wiener. That's the only way I can describe him.
Not a fan.
You can comment below. It's just when in my head I just see him like wiener. And he's talking, I hear womp, 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 wiener, wiener, wiener. That's all I hear. I just can't stand with Lindsey Graham.
He's just very effeminate when he talks.
Yeah.
It's like too much.
Exactly.
Like he's an effeminate and he's angry.
Yes, exactly.
He's like, I can't believe there's guys in my neighborhood.
Like, I feel like he has pecan sandies in his desk drawer. Not pans, but pecan sandy.
Yeah, I just eat a lot of pecan sandies, and when I'm done, I'm done.
It's a Southern thing you wouldn't understand. We say y'all, and we don't have pens in our desk. We have pecan sandies.
What? I have oral fixation ever since I quit smoking. I got something in my mouth.
And I never smoked. So, I agree, though, with the point. I agree with the point that they shouldn't be making a decision based on the potential of civil unrest.
Correct.
That being said, Lindsey Graham was not calling for civil unrest. But I'm trying to think if there would be a clear example of this having happened at some point in recent memory. Oh, wait, that's right. Maxine Waters actively calling for violent escalation during the Chauvin trial if she didn't get the outcome that she wanted.
We're looking for a guilty verdict.
Wow.
We're looking for a guilty verdict.
Okay.
And we're looking to see if all of the talk that took place and has been taking place after they saw
Stupid
what happened
Pebbles
to George
dress
Floyd,
face mask.
If nothing does not happen, then we know that we've got to not only stay in the street, but we've got to fight for justice. But I am very hopeful, and I hope that we're going to get a verdict that is say guilty, guilty, guilty.
What should protesters do?
Well, we got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
Okay, hold on a second. Before you guys jump in, I don't want to do what CNN does and say that she meant fight literally, even though at that point they had been fighting literally throughout the streets.
The entire summer.
And I don't want to say when she answered very clearly what we need to do is get more confrontational, as though she meant that literally. And I don't want to say that that correlation equals causation, but of course, regardless of the verdict, her constituents did this anyway.
Well,
I'll be darned.
I thought she meant like a dance off.
Yes.
You know?
I like that she
like
had
Trump
my
line.
underwear on her face.
It's either that or Halle Berry's dress in the Flintstones. And then she said, harass everybody in diners, wherever they go. Lindsey Graham is saying, look, if citizens believe that there is an unfair prosecution in this country, you could see civil unrest.
And you know why they would believe that? Because it's an unfair prosecution if it happens.
Hey, by the way,
laws that just throw this all out.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. It's just stupid. Presidential records. None of what they said matters. None of why they went into Mar-a-Lago matters at all. The president is under no obligation to turn documents over swiftly. He can do it later. A librarian asked him for some stuff. He's the president of the United States. They've done this historically. There's always a fight over these documents.
Well, what he's trying to argue, too, is he's trying to say this is unprecedented, right? And the left is trying to say, no, this is business as usual. Well, let me give you some examples here really quickly as to what is unprecedented. Okay, the Espionage Act has not been used against presidents in the past, okay? There have not been any presidents who have been raided for documents. This idea that presidents are not allowed to have documents that they've declassified. That is unprecedented. What's unprecedented is, of course, the prosecution of political opponents. When you look at what the IRS, when you look at what the FBI is doing, when you look at what the FBI did with major media outlets. Let's just call Facebook and Twitter what they are now. They're publishers. They're major media outlets.
Yeah.
They're not platforms, right? All of that is unprecedented. What's not unprecedented is someone saying, hey, maybe there was some foul play in the election. Why? Because Hillary Clinton did that? Which election? the one before the one that you're saying we're not allowed to talk about.
Yeah,
and then, of course, Al Gore did that. And for people who say, oh, Al Gore, Florida, George Bush, look into that. I know a lot of you may not have done history remedial. A lot of people think that Al Gore wanted a recount. No, he didn't. He wanted it in 4 specific counties.
He wanted to, yeah, exactly. He wanted to make sure he won the election.
He specifically fought a recount, which George W. Bush said, let's recount all of Florida. No, I just want this area. So a lot of people aren't even informed on that, and I bet if you run a search right now on Google, you won't actually find out the Supreme Court case. I think Ted Cruz actually played a part in that. So while we're talking about precedent and what's unprecedented, something else I was about to make, and I think it's kind of lazy, but I think it matters. What you just saw, that riot, whatever they were burning there, but billions of dollars in damages, right? The whole summer of love. Okay, we know that. And a lot of people say, look at that versus January 6th. I don't even think we need to make that comparison. When people talk about January 6th as though it was completely unprecedented, you don't even need to go so far back to the riots. There is a direct apples to apples, to use Michael Sturmer's comparison there.
Smirkovert.
They burned down a church right across from the White House and stormed the gates. And the president of the United States, Donald Trump, was hidden in the White House, and everyone mocked him, saying, oh, the coward's going to his bunker. That was way worse than they burned a church down. You don't even need to go to the riots. Right there, a stone's throw away from what happened on January 6th. There was arson. There was violent felonies that happened and people attempting to breach the White House and kill the president, and they mocked the president. And we called January 6th the greatest act of terror in American history. We don't even need to go macro with the examples of the billions of dollars and the thousands of casualties and dozens of officers who were shot or killed. Just go apples to apples. Hey, this happened January 6th. Okay, happened right there in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Only a few weeks earlier, they stormed the gates and burned down a church right across from the White House. That's worse. Period. We don't hear about that anymore. It's like everyone's forgotten about it. It's been memory hold.
Well, absolutely. And I want to make sure that we're clear about this, too. Don't let the FBI become the biggest of the boogeymen. This is the Department of Justice under Joe Biden. All of this goes back to Joe Biden.
Yep.
That is his biggest political opponent coming up in the next presidential election. Joe Biden. Bad gas prices, terrible economy, everything falling apart in the world. It seems right now Russia just continuing to invade a country. We just continue to send the money. They continue to hold Europe in, I guess, a vice for the upcoming winter because they have no gas and heat for all their homes. That is Joe Biden. Yeah. Don't lose focus on Joe Biden because that's what he wants.
It's not just former President Trump. It's the guy who would kick his ass in an election if it were held today.
Oh, yeah.
Well, just to be clear, that's the guy who he's raiding.
Yeah.
That's unprecedented. 2 impeachments based on a sham, by the way. There was an impeachment of Donald Trump because they said, oh, yeah, Russia. Trump's not guilty of anything, but he was impeached for something that never happened.
Right.
That's unprecedented. The FBI raid is unprecedented. Lindsey Graham saying, you know what, there might be backlash to this, is completely precedented.
Well, the reason why January 6th is being used is what other event you're going to use that even resembles a riot.
Right.
Well, and that's what you have to use to say that this kind of conversation is violence.
Yeah.
We can't allow them to talk about these things because it's violence. No, it's not violence at all. It's just information.
Well, good point to that is they point to discussing any election irregularities as dangerous misinformation, right? And so that's the only example they can point to, and they try to point to. I would argue, while we're doing apples to apples, dangerous misinformation, claiming that the Hunter Biden laptop story, which, of course, directly involves his father, the former vice president of the United States, and deals with Ukraine and China. I would say having that labeled misinformation is far more damaging than people saying, hey, you know what? We need to have voter ID. I would say the story that went out that said Ashley Biden, where she talked about being molested and being at least fondled by and showering with her dad, maybe nothing sexual, in her own diary, saying that was fraudulent and Russian misinformation. I would say that's more dangerous than people questioning the election. And do you know how I know you believe that too? YouTube, Facebook, Twitter? You allowed Hillary Clinton and Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren and Jimmy Carter and Al Gore to do it for years. So while we're doing apples to apples comparison, I think the dangerous misinformation is that which is verifiable, which has changed the outcome of our country. And you know what? Let me say this. I've never said this. This is going to sound like I'm a prick, and sometimes I am. I think the best case scenario is that conservatives, people like you right now watching, that you've been responsible fiscally, and that you can wait it out, and that the next couple of years hurt like hell for the people who voted for it. I want the people who voted for this shit to say, God, I can't afford to drive to work. I can't afford to buy chuck roast, let alone to buy top sirloin. This is the rent prices are going up. Look at the interest rates. I think that these people need to experience the sting so that they can remember how good we had it in this country. Regardless of whether you have an R or a D next to your name, it needs to sting. And we need to weather that storm. That's the perfect world scenario. I don't want it. I don't want hardships for any of you out there, but I think that this country needs to feel it right now. Give unto us a king. You said CNN is...
CNN, they're talking about Lindsey Graham right now, the riots in the streets.
Okay, let's see if they pull this shit.
He might be right. We have lots of reasons to believe that many of Mr. Trump's most ardent supporters might decide to resort to violence.
Ben
or
Kingsley
you see
looks
how
like
people
shit.
responded to just the information that his residence has been searched. So I think it's definitely
With
a
no
concern
violence that I know
for
of.
national security officials.
One crazy guy.
However, if the Department of Justice makes the decision to not prosecute a former president when the facts and the law indicate that that prosecution should go forward,
It's not warranted.
they decide not to simply because they're afraid of how that former president's supporters might react.
Well, they're
That is
pushing this
literally
narrative in
holding
real
justice
time.
I know, it's
hostage
real
in this
time.
country, and I don't think that that is an acceptable result under any circumstances, despite what the threats or the conflagration or the public outrage might be. Those are all things that we need to
Like
be able
you
to
just
manage.
explained it, and then they just
Justice
did
must be
it.
done
I'll tell you
when
exactly why they're
justice
doing
is
this right.
called
Well, I
for.
want to hear what...
Yeah, sorry.
I want to hear what the Ben Kingsley, Mr. Peabody, has to say.
My personal opinion on it, but
Did he go in and say, give me the reverse Botox under my chin?
So can you do that, please?
We'll be watching
Can I look like I'm frowning all the time, please?
He looks like his bees should...
Good to have you both.
What? What did she say?
She said the law should be applied the same to everyone. Really?
I really wanted to hear what that other guy said because I imagine his bees would sound like, yes, bro, that's a better way of point.
Could be right.
And we should lie on the CNN, on the Doodad.
But this is the business.
Yep.
This pisses me.
Here's why they're doing it. It's checkmate. This is exactly why they're doing it right now.
Bubbles.
What do you think people do when, pardon my language, you fuck everything up, okay? We've talked about this before, the timeline with the Mar-a-Lago raid. Okay, the raid happens. No, the timeline before that is Donald Trump was actually complying with them, whatever you need, had handed over documents, said, okay, great, just let us know what you need. Instead, they decided to go in there and of course, they blame Donald Trump, saying the only reason you know about it is because Donald Trump tweeted about it. Well, he was posting it on Truth Social because you violated the law and didn't actually allow them to read the warrant, and this was concerning. This shouldn't happen in the dark. You knew that he was going to do that. Okay, so this happens. That's completely unprecedented. Then what happened is everybody said, actually, Merrick Garland doesn't know anything about this. He came out later. We said that on this show.
Yeah.
We were factually inaccurate because Garland lied. Then he came out later, said, actually, I was the one who personally called it, trying to act like he's like this strong authority figure. And then he said, and we're going to unseal the information so long as Donald Trump agrees to it. Everyone said mic drop, and Donald Trump said, okay, unseal all of it. How about the reason for the affidavit? Oh, you don't want them to find all your child porn? So... They said, no, we can't do that. We can't do that, unseal it, because it would it would interfere with the security of witnesses. Okay. They said, all right, let's just redact it. So then they said, no, that would take too long. Then they released some redacted pages, I guess, that you see out there.
They released the thing, but it's mostly redacted.
It's entirely redacted, so nobody can actually see what's going on, and no one can know if this is actually justified at this point, and if they prosecute him, people are going to be pissed, and they probably are going to take to the streets. Now, knowing conservatives, knowing people on the right, it'll be almost entirely, I would assume, if not completely, entirely nonviolent. They certainly won't be waging war against their fellow citizens like the Black Lives Matter protesters or Maxine Waters herself. Where do you expect them to go? You said, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You lied about all of it, and now, where we are today, are we the 29th?
Yes.
Yep.
We're the 29th of August. The raid happened 2.5 weeks ago?
Something like that.
2.5 weeks ago. Okay. Let's call it 15 days ago. We know zero more about the justification for the raid today than we did back then. But we've had at least a dozen promises that we were going to be given the information. And it was going to seal, right, it would be the final nail in the coffin. We know nothing more than we knew back then. Now, imagine today, goes into tomorrow, and they decide to prosecute the man who we know would beat the shit out of Joe Biden in an election. Of course there would be unrest.
Yeah.
Not because of systemic racism that can't be described and people using it as an excuse to go and steal a Westinghouse, but because people are saying, you told us that you would let us in on why you are doing this. That there were crimes so egregious, it threatened the security of our nation state.
Yeah.
We know nothing more today than we did the day the raid happened.
Well, you wouldn't think that from watching CNN, because what they've been putting out there is, oh my gosh, nuclear information that maybe could fall into the wrong hands.
Well, that
and
disappeared.
by the way, so far, maybe he's selling it into the hands. And there's other stories and timelines out there where he asked for this information about informants, and then we start losing informants around the world being killed. I wonder if Donald Trump is paying off business favors by doing that. Like, all of that ran. Everybody got to hear about that, even though there's no evidence of any of that. And by the way, he said something. He's like, they shouldn't be afraid. You shouldn't be afraid if you're applying the law equally. You should be terrified if you are not, that the people will not stand for it. I'm sorry, that's not how this country works. You don't get to run roughshod over the American population and go, you just have to take it. That's not how we do business here.
No.
You should be terrified. And I'm not saying that you would come across physical harm. I'm saying that you would lose your jobs, that you guys would be run out of business. You should be terrified of that.
Yeah. What should happen next, the next president of the United States, if they're a Republican, and if Republicans, if they take the House and Senate, what needs to happen next is, because people before were saying, hey, it can be used against you. Well, guess what? We need to start using it against them. There needs to be prosecution to the fullest extent of the law, insider trading, any kind of election meddling that's happened, or any kind of irregularities, any changing of the election laws that violate the state constitutions, any type of international relationships like we see with Joe Biden and Ukraine that requires an investigation. There should be full investigation and prosecution of everyone, and it should happen with complete transparency and no redactions. That's what the next Republican needs to do, and I won't vote for anyone or support anyone who doesn't promise to do it. There's no more playing nice. They take the low road, we take the high road. No. There's only one road. There's only one road right now, and they're driving like assholes in the fast lane, slowing the rest of us down, because the rest of us just actually want to get back on the road to freedom, and we can't, because we have an 87,000% increased IRS force. We have the FBI, who now have more power over the American public than ever before. And instead of paying for, I don't know, border security, instead of paying for, I don't know, ensuring that we have the most effective military in the world, instead of ensuring that we have elections with integrity, instead of spending money on those things, what are we doing? Well, we're forgiving student loans for people who got gender studies degrees. Yeah. That's where we are in this country. Yeah, that's a legitimate role of government. You need to understand the legitimate purview of government if you're going to look at any of this and be as terrified as you need to be. Look, I will tell you this. There's a silver lining in a lot of these issues that are happening today. We might be beyond the bend with some of it. You haven't heard me say that before. If this continues to go on completely unchecked, we cannot have a country where the FBI can selectively prosecute, can selectively enforce the law, and selectively tell all major media and big tech outlets what they're allowed to cover. That cannot be allowed to stand. And that's again why Lindsey Graham is a little bit of a wiener. We need better than Lindsey Graham in there. And we need you, all of you, to fight for every single inch all the time. Reduce your dependency on big tech. Right? You need to start voting with your dollar. And I know it's hard. It's hard because, unfortunately, the left gets their hands into everything. But there are good local businesses that you can support. You can get involved in your local politics. And what I will say beyond anything, you know what the best thing is that you can do? Is just stop going, ooh. Let your freak flag fly. Honestly, don't be shy if someone says, oh, well, Donald Trump. Just say, oh, fuck you. You know, this is ridiculous. It's a sham. You know what? I have plenty of friends. I could use a few enemies. You're not welcome at my barbecue. I'm done with it. No more cocktail parties with these people. Not when they're this far gone. By the way, it's a live show, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. I would love for all of you to watch on Rumble, or you can listen to the audio on Apple, on Android. But Rumble and, of course, Mug Club. The promo code is free speech.
Free speech, yes.
Free speech. You get $30 off. We take your chat. We have a whole story now. We've gone late.
Yeah.
Manatee Teo?
I'm going to kill you, I think.
Is it Manatee Teo?
It's so not.
You know what? We'll figure out what the name is, but we're going to go to Mug Club, and he'll inform me. Probably wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Manatee. Piss off.